Oh, hey there. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome back to Sam's Doing Stuff. What am I doing today? Gonna kind of capture my inner zen, rethink this whole thing, and take it to the next level. If there's any constant in life, it's change. And I'll tell you what, with the addition of this new garage door, that kind of changes the function of this building. It's sealed up now. It's a great place to keep your high-valued equipment. I think this building's gonna become tractor, excavator, lawnmower, pallet jack, chainsaws, all of the stuff for storage. And the other building is gonna be completely dedicated to firewood. And I think that's gonna really open up some possibilities. Now I'm gonna fast forward here and you're gonna see, I gotta get all of the IBC totes, gather them all up, get them out into the field. I have been using weed block to prepare that area. It just helps with not having to mow in between the baskets. And I'm gonna lay down as much weed block as I have, and I'm gonna get the firewood organized out there. And after that's all done, then I'm gonna start moving machinery into the new building and try and organize that a little bit more. And once that's all done, then I'm gonna rededicate that space in the big barn for firewood and moving everything around and getting it all feng shuied up and try and get the system prepared to cut logs. Yeah, what do you think of that trick? You know? I think I'm gonna have to brainstorm that a little bit. We're gonna workshop something. It's just somebody mentioned, a couple people, I'm sure it was, mentioned in the comments, hey, you gotta put a seat on that thing. And I'm like, can I ride it? Anyway, that's down the road. This is beautiful. All the wood, all of it. And I decided to move the red oak out here, but I put the, lids, the IBC tote lids on it. I think that's good enough for the red oak. It's mostly dry already anyway. Shouldn't get any mold. It should be just fine. So here's the barn. I certainly think that with the addition of this beautiful new garage door, it makes sense to put all of the machinery in here. Yeah, it's gonna be all locked up. I think that's a good thing. And, of course, moving all of the firewood out and moving the machinery out of this barn frees up the entire end of this barn for splitting firewood. That's going to be awesome. Cut into rounds, bring them in here, split, and then move them out to the field. That sounds wonderful. Let's try it out. Okay. Boy, this is a lot of work just to do work. Yeah, I think I got this now though. And okay, let me talk to you for a second, just a second. You can't think of yourself as a one-man operation. You can't think of yourself as a firewood processor. A firewood processor takes a log off the deck, cuts a piece, splits it, up a conveyor into a bin. Cannot do that as a one-man person. You've got to break it up into jobs. I have cutting, I have splitting, and then I have stacking. So I gotta do all my cutting at once, and I mean all of it. Do as much cutting, at least a couple of decks worth of cutting. So once I get done cutting, I can just take all this stuff now and I can stack these rounds all over here. And it'll get it up off the ground enough that I'm not bending over. So that's key. Cut, cut, cut. Anything that's too heavy, I'll roll. But I can carry it and I can just load this whole thing up. And I've only used half, not even half, of the barn over here. So I could go the whole length of this with rounds, which I probably will do. Then I've got this splitter, of course, it has this hand cart dolly, and I can just start down here and have the rounds right behind me here. I just grab the rounds as I go and split, and then put them into my bins or whatever I do with it, you know, probably stack on this side, whatever, that's irrelevant right now. But as I finish up all the rounds here, then I'll just take the splitter and I'll move it down a little bit. And I got more rounds here. And so I'll grab the rounds and I see how I'm doing this. I think this works, I think. It keeps me in the barn. It keeps the process in this flow rather than driving the rounds with the tractor down here. It should make things faster. And the pinch point, you know, the funnel, where the funnel gets the narrowest, is always going to be this splitter. So that's just what I'm dealing with right now. You know, there's plans in place to get a faster one, but you know, all I got to do is remove this piece and put in a faster splitter and keep the rest of it the same. So let's load up the deck. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. And so I would just roll the splitter into place. And I can walk over here and I can grab the rounds off and split them. Should be a pretty smooth system. Took me, you know, just under a half an hour, I think it was. The timer will tell you exactly. But, you know, that's a mess of rounds. That's pretty good size load of rounds to split up. Remember, I figured in another video that the whole deck is 2 bins of 1/4 each, 1/4 cord each. So that's a half a cord. This should be about a half a cord, give or take. And I think a half a cord at a time is a pretty good way to do it. And as you can see, you're gonna be faster if you do one job at a time. If I do all the cutting that I can do, and I think cutting 1 deck worth of wood, a half a cord at a time, is pretty good because I'm sweating. The only thing that would make it better, and I keep thinking this, is some sort of conveyor system off of this. I keep coming back to a gravity conveyor. A gravity conveyor, these rounds are gonna get heavy eventually, so I'd have to roll each one down a little at a time, which is still better than carrying them. I mean, we didn't get into this to be wimps, you know? We want some exercise. That's part of the reason we're out here doing this. You know, we're crazy. We're crazy. Everybody's crazy. Remember, you got into firewood because you wanted to do it. So don't make it so you don't want to do it. I still want to do it. Anyway, if I'm gonna stack, which, you know, I like to stack. For now, I like to stack. And this is the birth of this, from a hobby to a business, to sell more and make a little bit more money. Keep that in mind. So I'm perfecting these systems with the way it works for me now. Someday, I don't know, changing out the splitter eventually is gonna change everything, because this one is so slow that it makes sense for me to take the piece that I just split and just set it on a stack, you know, because it's gonna take another 7.5 seconds for that thing to get back where it was. So it takes me 2 seconds to set it, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, if you get a faster splitter that has a 4-second or less cycle time, then it might not make sense to stack immediately. That might be another part of the process where you do all the cutting at once, then all the splitting at once, and then all the stacking at once. And I'm gonna have to figure all that out again later, but that's down the road. So before we wrap things up, I wanna answer a question that I get quite often, and that's about these lights up here. These are solar parking lot lights. I've got one on either side of the door, and I bought them originally just for a party. We were parking all of our relatives and guests out in the field, and I didn't have electricity out there, so I bought these solar lights, and they're really good. They last all night, and they come on at dusk and shut off at dawn. So, or is that reversed? No, that's right. Anyway, dusk to dawn, yeah. And they got a little remote, so you could turn them on and off if you want to with the remote. But I think they're a couple years old now, and they've lasted, you know, at least 2 years. So I'll leave a link in the description where I got them off of Amazon if you're interested. I don't get any commission or anything. It's just somebody asked, so I'm letting you know. Anyway, that's all we have for today. I am going to go see my daughter. She's my number one job, you know, especially in the summertime. My daughter that's my 9 to 5. So we'll see what she's doing, and I will see you guys next time when I'm doing.